Good morning, everyone. I am Shweta Sarangi, and in the previous class, we have studied about the biodiversity and the biogeographical classification of India, and also we have studied about the floristic or botanical regions of India. So, we have completed that, and today we are going to start the values of biodiversity. So, biodiversity is a valuable natural resource for the survival of mankind. Man has domesticated a number of economically important plants and animal species. Old traditional varieties and the mid relatives of domesticated plants and animals constitute a vital genetic resources for us. Many plants and animals, including wildlife, are of very important for human being. They can be used directly or indirectly to have consumptive, productive, social, ethical, and aesthetic and offense values, that is in the terms of money. So the values of biodiversity are of three types. First one is consumptive value, second one is our productive value, and third one is our social value. Okay. So now, so these are the overall possibilities. They are described below the noting numerous or interactions among them. Okay, so these are the values of biodiversity. First is our economic, ecological, life support, recreation, cultural, and scientific. So these are the values of biodiversity. So first we are going to study about the consumptive values. So most of the developing countries obtain fuel wood from forest. Still more than 1500 million people cook their food by burning wood, and about 1,000 million cubic meter wood is used for fuel across the globe. This imposes heavy pressure on forest, hunting of wildlife, use of grass with some commercially important plants as fodder or are of only competitive. Okay, so various tribal societies fully dependent on forest biodiversity for their habitation and livelihood. So they used tubers, roots, fruits, seeds, and meat of wild animals as their food. Next is productive value. So bamboos, grasses, cans, essential oils, dyes, tanning material, then gums, resin, drugs, spices, poisons, insecticides, soap substitutes, rudraksh, lac, honey wax, tussar, mohua seeds, mohua flower, and other seeds are forest products. They have their high commercial values. In addition to those, these various herbs and animal body parts are sold in commercial market, both at national and international levels. Some benefits like water quality, recreation, education, scientific research, regulations of climatic, etc., are indirect values to biodiversity that provide economic advantages to the people without consumption of the resources. So some plants have been found to have immense medical properties, few of them with their curative properties. Okay. So the lack of marketing facilities, lack of technical and financial support, involvement of middlemen in the business, and large range of variations in the selling price of medicinal plants are keeping away from farmers from the main trade. Many pharmaceuticals have traditionally been derived from plants and animal sources. Worldwide medicines from plants are worth over $40 billion a year in year by government of India in 1991. 80% of the people in tropical areas, they are dependent on traditional medicines, penicillin and tetracycline, and among us the 3000 antibiotics extracted from microorganisms. Google is an oleogum resin which is long used in Ayurvedic medicines for its anti-inflammatory and hypocholesterolemic activity. Okay, so these are the productive values of biodiversity. Next, we are going to study about the social value of biodiversity. So, social value is one of the instrumental values where something has as a means to another's end. Materialistic uses of biodiversity are the core of instrumental values. The biodiversity has distinct social value attached with different societies. Goods and services which are provided by ecosystem to our society includes first one is provision of food, fuel and fiber. Second is provision of shelter and building materials. Next is purification of air and water. Third is detoxification uh, and decomposition of waste. Fifth is generation and renewable of soil fertility including nutrient cycling. Control of pests and diseases. Stabilization and moderation of Earth's climate. Maintenance of genetic resources as key inputs to crop varieties. Next is livestock breeds, medicines and other products are etc. So the charismatic species that have captured the public's heart and own their support for conservation. So biological resources are the pillars upon which we blind civilization. The loss of biodiversity threatens our existence, that is social life. Thus protecting biodiversity is in our self-interest. So these are the social values of biodiversity because biological resources provide the basics for life on earth including men. So human impact which comes to the human well-being, biological diversity, biological resources and human well-being. Okay. So these are interconnected. Okay, so this is the ecological system. So social value of biodiversity refers to also religious and cultural importance. Trees are worshipped as god. Example, banyan tree, people trees. Flowers, tulsi leaves are offered during pujas. So these are the social value of biodiversity. Next, we are going to study about the ethical values. So ethical or religious values is also one of the indirect values of biodiversity. The ethical and religious value of biodiversity is rooted in the understanding that humanity is part of nature and that we are just one species among others. All species have an inherent right to exist. Future generations also have an inherent right to know them and to have the choice of using them or not. Religions also have a significant impact on our attitude towards natural resources. So, the Buddhist perception of nature, for example, is based on different practices and approaches than that of Christian belief, though both are consistent with, conserving biodiversity. Ethical value is one of the non-use values which derive from human ethical consideration relating to matters such as the extinction of species and ecosystem. Okay. Next, we are going to study about the aesthetic values. What are they? So, the aesthetic value of biodiversity has been expressed in many ways through art, poetry, songs, literature, music and dance. Forests are closely linked with our religion and culture. Human race has a great evolutionary attachment with forest as our ancestors lived in the forest. Forests are nature's laboratories where scholars study natural sciences. Many types of trees are worshipped in tribal and Hindu societies, that is people, bargad, tulsi, etc. Some animals like cow is worshipped by Hindus in all over India. In series of these many birds, colorful butterflies, mammals have great aesthetic value for human beings. Ecotourism generate large amount of revenue annual that gives the aesthetic value of biodiversity. In this tourism, people far and wide spend a lot of money and time to visit wilderness areas where they enjoy the aesthetic value of biodiversity. So there are mainly three values of biodiversity which we have studied in this class. First is our consumptive value, second is our productive value, and third is our social value. And again we have also studied the ethical values of biodiversity and aesthetical values of biodiversity. Okay, thank you.